Good morning, and welcome to the 7th of our 2020 webinars featuring Wish Kids, Wish families, and folks that can provide some insight into the magic of a wish come true. I'm Richard Kelly, the Chief Operating Officer of Make-A-Wish Southern Florida, and happy to be back moderating the discussion today. Unfortunately, right now we have some wishes on hold due to COVID-19, but hope for the future is essential, and we will, with your help, be ready to grant these postponed wishes when it's safe to do so. In honor of this holiday season, our theme today is A Wish is a Gift. We have 3 former Wish kids whose wishes are a big part of their lives, and we think you'll enjoy hearing their stories. Marina has a love of the ocean, especially the surf. When choosing what her wish would be back in 2012, she wanted a gift that she could use during the activity that she loves, and it being a reminder of the challenges she faced and overcame. She's here with us and that gift, and here to tell us how she has soared to new heights. Angelina used her wish as a celebration of going into remission in her battle with Crohn's disease. An avid participant in martial arts, she learned her founder had an interesting history in Hawaii, and she wanted to take her family and explore the tropical paradise. She's here to tell us about that trip, what it meant for her family, and how she's paying it forward. Robert had a few ideas for his wish. He knew he wanted to travel to an exotic and interesting destination. His wish to go on a Mediterranean cruise with his family fulfilled his love of travel. He'll share his memories from that trip and how the entire Make-A-Wish experience has shaped his future path in life. Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, I'd just like to remind you that if you have any questions for any of our panelists, type them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we'll answer them throughout today's session. So Angelina, we'll start with you. So tell us a little bit about what was going on in your life prior to Make-A-Wish coming into your life.
Well, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at 12 years old, and I was not the first member of my family to go through some medical hardships. I went through watching my little brother, he got sick when he was 3. That's when his journey really began. And then I watched my father and his own health journey, and we all overcome that as a family. And then come to find out I was next. But you know, that didn't stop us. We pulled together again. I went through several different treatments. None of them worked, or I was allergic to them. People kept telling me that there's no way that this would happen to you with this medication. There's like a 1% chance. And then that 1% ended up being me. So many times you wonder, like, hey, why couldn't I win the lottery? Instead, that's where the 1% came into play. And when Make-A-Wish approached me, I knew I wanted to do something that would pay heritage to my history as a martial artist. I was a martial artist since I was 3, so that was a huge part of my life for many, many years, and it still is today. You know, despite COVID, I still try my best to practice when I can. It still encompasses every single part of my life. I have my practice binder with me here at college, and I do it whenever I can. So that's where that interest came from, going to Hawaii.
So tell us a little bit about that trip. You know, you and your family head to Hawaii, and you know, you didn't want to experience it like a typical tourist would. You had a mission there. So tell us about that.
I did kind of have a mission there. At least the thought process behind the trip was definitely a little more eclectic than the typical tourist things. My founder of Kempo Karate, American Kempo, my senior grandmaster, Edward Parker, he was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. And that is where I knew I wanted to go because, like I said, karate was a huge part of my life for so many years. Since I was 3 years old, I'm 18 now. I still live and breathe martial arts. And I wanted to go where he was. I wanted to stand where he stood. I wanted to be where he was and see what he saw. And then this picture that's up on the screen, they actually Make-A-Wish. I expected just to go there and, you know, be where he was and just kind of feel his presence. But Make-A-Wish, of course, took it above and beyond and did something beyond what we ever imagined possible. This was at a temple that was in Honolulu around there. And it was a huge martial arts ceremony they put on for us. The Reverend there, pictured adjacent to my family, he gave us a ceremony. He blessed my health and the health of my family because, like I said, we all went through our own tribulations. And that was when I knew that they really found my heartfelt wish. They really sought after their mission and they accomplished it. They did something I didn't even expect. They took what I gave them and they expanded on it. They exploded it to be something so phenomenal. And that is probably my favorite part of the trip because it was so personal, and I'll never forget that.
Excellent. Well, that we're in the business of granting wishes and exploding them to the desires of the wish child. So I'm glad accomplished that mission. Robert, let's talk about your journey to your wish, and prior to your wish, dealing with cancer, and it's it's something that you and your family were dealing with. And can you just tell us a little bit about that journey up until the time that Make-A-Wish came into your life?
Yeah, so it was a few hard, it was a few hard months until we actually found out specifically what I had was. For many months on end, I was having extremely bad back pain. And, most of my doctors just resulted it as you're growing, growing pains, things like that. After about 6 months, and I think fate had a design for me. They knew that there was something wrong. On December, I wanted to go to DC with my family. That plane, the line was too long, so we missed that plane. 2 days after, I went to get my MRI, and then that's where everything, transpired. After the MRI, we did a couple more tests. They found out I had stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And from there on, it was just, the chemotherapy, the biopsies to make sure, everything was going well. Um, it was a lot of hardships, and definitely besides cancer, I did feel it was my around junior year, sophomore year. I still felt very lost to what to do with my life. Um, so I wasn't sure. I was still just kind of floating around, kind of like in purgatory, not knowing what I was going to do with my life. After the sickness, after being contacted by Make-A-Wish, after enduring such a long time in a hospital, isolated, uh, thanks to the efforts of my hospital, Nicholas Children's Hospital, and Make-A-Wish, I realized my true passion in life, because I remember feeling so hopeless and so alone. And you guys came in with, welcoming arms, treating me like family. And I just didn't feel so hopeless anymore. I felt like I've been saved. I've been, granted a wish, of course. Um, and so thanks to you guys and thanks to my hospital, I want to become a pediatric nurse for oncology, which is cancer. I want to give people the hope that you guys gave me. I want to make sure that people aren't alone how I felt for such a long time. I want to be that beacon that you guys are to kids in such a hard time. So thanks to you guys, I've discovered my passion in life.
That's incredible, amazing, and a true testament to what the Wish does and the perspective that Wish kids have. So tell us about your trip.
The trip, it's exactly as Angelina put it. You guys, I give you the base and you guys just bring it all the way up. You guys, I give you a flower, you guys bring me a bouquet, It's just, you guys always know how to top it. So I originally just asked to go to Greece. We were, me and my family were always depending, oh, well, maybe we can go here, maybe we can go there, maybe Italy. We didn't know. We finally decided on Greece. We were expecting to maybe just go to Santorini or something. And then here comes Erin, my Make-A-Wish coordinator, who I love dearly, like a friend. She's amazing. She's more like family, honestly. And she tells me, oh yeah, we got you guys a Mediterranean cruise. And I was like, a cruise? You need 7 days of just going around the Greek Isles? That's incredible. I couldn't, I was astonished by how much you guys just raise the bar every single time. And, when we got on that boat, they treated us more than royalty, like family, all of the managers were so nice. They were so understanding. They did everything in their power to make sure that my trip was perfect. They took me up to the captain's deck. I met the captain. We got to see them actually, how they maneuver the boat and everything, which was astonishing because I've never seen anything like that before. We had priority on basically everything. I truly felt like this was a wish. I was waiting to wake up, like it was a dream. It didn't feel real until I got home, and I was like, wow, that really all just happened. And even though my wish is finished, I still see Make-A-Wish as my forever foundation. I tell my Make-A-Wish coordinator, I also told Rachel, one of the people who helped set up this webinar, if it's for Make-A-Wish, my answer is yes. I will always do anything in my power to make sure that I can help you guys with whatever it is, because I want to make sure I give back to what I was blessed with. The just amazing opportunity to get such an amazing thing granted to me. I want to make sure that other kids get that same treatment, that same love, and those same wishes.
Now, you told me that, it's beautiful. You told me that the favorite parts of your trip were the unscripted parts. There were plenty of scripted parts, excursions, etc., but some of the unscripted parts, can you tell me about one or two of those?
Yeah, that's very true. Like I said, Make-A-Wish, they're always blowing it out of the water. They gave us a lot of credit on the cruise so we can get a lot of excursions. And we decided on, I think it was two places where we didn't get excursions. And that was, my favorite is Mykonos. We went to Mykonos, we got off the boat, priority in Berkshire, of course, because they always wanted to make sure we had as much time as possible to, enjoy ourselves. And it was just so incredible. Like, it felt like just a completely different like world. We got lost in those cities that you see on the picture right there. Their cities are built like a maze. All the houses are like all jumbled together. We got lost in them for hours. We were having so much fun. Then after, wandering in that maze for so long, we made it to the coastline where we saw the beautiful sea. And we stopped at a Greek bakery shop. We had some pastries, and then for dinner we ate at a place right by the sea where everything was freshly caught. And I remember that with such nostalgia because it felt so real. It felt so just genuine. Like, I didn't feel like I had a certain amount of time to go somewhere. I had a certain time, the unscheduledness made it feel like I was just living my life in Greece, and it was just an amazing, amazing time. And I always say that I never ever take for granted what Make-A-Wish did for me, and that's why I always make sure that I want to pay it forward.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here. Marina, your wish was one of the more beautifully unique and inspiring wishes we've ever done. And I'd like to get to your wish day, but back up a little bit to prior to your wish and sort of what you were dealing with up until Make-A-Wish came into your life.
Yeah, so leading up to it, I was 13 at the time, and this was about a year prior to my wish, about a year and a half. And for the most part, everything felt normal, and I was quieter at that age, so I didn't really talk a lot about what was going wrong with me because I didn't know what was right or wrong. So I was hurting for a while, and I got very lucky in that I eventually told someone I was hurting really bad in my stomach, and that led to a series of tests going into the hospital eventually, and they ended up finding out it was stage 3 lymphoma, which is what I had. And again, I'm really lucky because if I had waited much longer, at that point it was rapidly progressing. Who knows when they would have caught that I had it or not. So I ended up going in. I started chemotherapy immediately. It was a bumpy path in that there was malpractice involved that really kind of threw a wrench in an already difficult situation. But thanks to amazing doctors and nurses, it was about 4 months of treatment, and then I was back on my feet at school, in high school. So that was a little bit of a difficult journey too. You're starting high school. It's already hard enough for a 13-year-old girl, let alone with wigs and other complications. It was a little bit tough, but yeah, so then as soon as all like the post surgeries were complete and everything was done, that's when Make-A-Wish really came into my life. And yeah, that was pretty much it. There was a little bit of a rough patch there in high school, but then Make-A-Wish came along. So definitely helped out.
So Make-A-Wish comes in and says you can wish for anything in the world. And so where was the surfboard in that choice? Was it up there, or was it the only choice, or were there other things, or how did you come to that conclusion?
So the surfboard was funny. So, well, Dulce Stevens was my wish granter, and she was incredible. I remember that day like it was yesterday, which at that time was funny because a lot of things are kind of blurry. I think it was because of the treatment and everything. So my memories aren't the best. But the day when Dulce came to the house I wasn't expecting it, was not prepared, had no idea I was even eligible for Make-A-Wish. I heard about it, but I never thought I would be the person to get it. So she came in, and I remember she came in with a bag of stuff for me, like the cute, one of it was perfume from Pink. And to this day, if I go in that store and I see it and I smell it, it's like it brings it all back. Where I was so happy. I couldn't believe this was happening. And markers, which was a 13-year-old girl, loves that, Sharpies for school. Anyway, she starts asking me what I want. And the first thing I thought about was when I was going through my treatment, it was in the middle of summer. And I live right by the beach. So we spent every day at the beach. I've been surfing since I was 7, when my uncle gave me my first board. So, and that was what I missed. I mean, I'm watching everyone go out. My best friend, who I surf with all the time, she's going out. And it's one of the things I miss the most. So when they asked me for what I wanted, it was one of the first things that came to my mind, because my old board was really old. It was my uncle's. I think the thing was like 30 years old at this point. I'm surprised it even floated. So I wanted something symbolic of the entire journey and that I could use for as long as I could maintain it. So that's how the wish kind of started.
So you got to design the board. And so tell us, the board is over your right shoulder, but tell us about that board and some of the things that are symbols that are on it, and that maybe that you still look at today and remind you of that journey and what you overcame.
Yeah, so the process was amazing. He was incredible with helping me put together the ideas and the design. So on it, the crab you see in the bottom right, that was to represent my cancer. The biohazard bucket was kind of a funny joke in that when I was really sick with the chemo, they said my clothes had to be washed separately because of the chemo. I couldn't really touch my family that much, again, because of the chemo, and it was so, toxic on you. So a nurse one day came in with a little biohazard sticker and stuck it to my forehead as a joke while I was laying there. So it was a really funny, good memory of mine. So that's why he's holding that little container. And then if you look in the waves, in the top left corner, like underneath the fin, those letters stand for diffuse large B-cell non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was the cancer I had. So everything on it was very, very symbolic. The lime green also is the color on the ribbon for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that's why there's a lot of lime green in with the waves. And then on the front of the board is a quote, and it says, "Live life like you stole it." And my dad was the one that coined that for me. And it's something I've been trying to live by since then and forever, I think. Pretty much meaning tomorrow's never guaranteed with anybody, and to make the most of all of it. Don't take anything for granted, and just, oh yeah, there it is. Just live life to your fullest. So, which is something that helped me, and I think my whole family get through such a hard time for all of us. Because even in the darkest days, which that was pretty tough on all of us, we managed to stay really optimistic and enjoy it. So,
and
yeah,
then
it was really special.
And then we see some of the pictures from the day that you got your surfboard up in Melbourne. So tell us a little bit about that day, and we can scroll through the pictures as you tell us about what that day was like, that you got the actual board and got to actually use it.
Okay, so that was an incredible day. My whole family and I drove up to Melbourne, which is actually a funny story because Katie was incredible, and my dad is the world's biggest impractical jokester, and like no one's really safe from him. So she's like super excited, like trying to figure out where we are, and we're down in South Florida. Melbourne is about 2.5 hours north of us. So she asked us when we're about 30 minutes out where we are, and my dad was like, "Oh, text her, we're an hour away from Key West." She panicked. So she called, we were like, no, we're 30 minutes away. So we all drove up there. They presented me with a surfboard, a GoPro I used until it died, a wetsuit that I still use, It was like a giant party for me and my family. Like all of us got to go hang out. The Melbourne High School surf team was there. Nikki Bisons was there. Everyone who designed the board and from the local surf shop were there. It was incredible. I mean, it was a really neat day. And I think for my family especially, it was important because I think it was very symbolic of, what's the word, like the end of the battle, like we did it. Because we're a very, very close family. My sisters, my mom, and my dad are my best friends. And we always went to the beach together. We were always surfing together. We were always out there together. And then cancer came and we couldn't do that anymore. I couldn't go to the beach. I couldn't go out. Someone was always with me in the hospital. So now for all of us to be able to go and finally be normal, it's like we did it. I could surf without worry about getting hurt. It was like, and for Make-A-Wish to provide that, I think was so incredible. It was a day where it's like, all of us were like, okay, we're done. Like, you know, all these people came together and cared so much about me, my family, this wish. It's, I don't know, something you can never forget. Like the board, I look at it, I'm always like, man, that is an awesome surfboard. Like no one has a cooler board than me. But now when I look at it, it's more like, I think about everybody involved in that board and my journey. Make-A-Wish, doctors, nurses, Katie, Dulce, you, everyone. That's what I see when I look at it. There's no monetary value for the kindness everyone, I don't know, put forth for the entire journey. I mean, what Make-A-Wish did is just, and the people I think is genuinely magic. I mean, you can't buy that. You can't ask for it. It's incredible. So I'm forever so grateful for that day.
It's amazing that you remember such fine details of a day that happened 8 years ago, but it really does speak to the impact that a wish has. Can you tell us about the impact, you know, 8 years later of that day on your life?
I really think it's like a ripple effect. Like I felt it that day, you know, and it was like incredible, monumental, but anything monumental is like it, I feel like ripples, they get bigger over time. And it's like the impact I feel like now 8 years later is 8 times what I felt 8 years ago. I mean, it's the wish that doesn't, it keeps on giving, and you keep on realizing more and more about how incredible the whole process is and what it does for people and me. I mean, I look back on that day and I realize how impactful it was on my life, not then, but now and in the next 16 years and however many years after that. It's going to be just as incredible, if not more. And I know it will be more because, again, all the people I've met, realizing everything they did, how I want to make a difference and help other people in the future, because my family the same way, everyone, you know, I just think it's this amazing ripple effect in society and with people where you just want to help and realize how it helped me. So, and gave me normality too in that time. I mean, I realized that too. I realized how not normal I felt and how normal I felt after Make-A-Wish and that event. It was like, so it was yeah, it's hard to put into words. I'm not good at describing it, but it was so amazing and incredible. I just really do struggle explaining how important it is to me and all my loved ones. So
I think you're doing a great job of describing it. You know, a lot of the people that were there on your wish day are in the room watching this today. Dulce is here, Katie is here, Kim and Jessica are here. So
I love Kim, yeah.
So you have an opportunity to tell them, you know, what their volunteerism means to you, and it might mean to other wish kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like it's priceless. I mean, they're people I will remember forever. I mean, I'm always talking about them and the wish. Even when I'm not directly looking at the board or using the board, I'm thinking about it, or a memory will come up. Or, I mean, I could not thank anybody enough for what they've done. It's not something I ever imagined would have been possible for me. So it's just really sweet to have people care that much.
Thank you. Angelina, your wish was about 2 years ago, and I know your family talks about it a lot. Can you tell us about that? Tell us about the discussions that you and your family have about your trip, and what position you might be in 8 years or 6 years post-wish talking about it like Marina has.
Well, when we first came back from Hawaii, we talked about Hawaii every single day. We talked about going back 16 times a day. Maybe that's not even enough to do it justice how often we talked about it, because it was just the most incredible experience that we could ever hope for or imagine. Prior to that, we didn't really travel that much due to, you know, all of us getting sick in succession. None of us were well enough to travel, or even if we did, it would be just up and down the East Coast, nothing too grand. And then we all went to Hawaii, which, you know, for us was a really big deal. It was a long way away for us. And afterward, when we came back, that would normally never be something we would ever do. So it was just definitely a day that lives on forever in our minds. We talk about the big things just as much as we talk about the tiniest little details that happened. Like one of the big things, of course, we talk about all the things they did for us with the temples and how they paid respect to martial arts. And we talked about the sun and the weather. And then we also talk about the pancakes they served at our hotel just as much, because those pancakes were the best pancakes I have ever had to date. I don't know what they put in them, but they were definitely incredible. And I think we also take a lesson that we got from that day. That wish helped me realize to live life to the fullest, because I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this, but when you're going through everything, you don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know anything. You take everything one day at a time. Sometimes you have to resort to taking life 1 minute at a time, or even 1 second at a time. You just take it day by day. You take it as it comes and you face it head on, and you do what you can. But then that's how you really learn to live life to the fullest. And after that wish coming back, I learned that, hey, there are great things out there. And now that I'm in remission, I have the means and the desire to want to experience them. I didn't think I would ever be able to go to college and live a life out in society, but here I am. I'm here at college. I'm pursuing my major. I'm out in the world, and I couldn't be more grateful to my family, or even the gentlemen and the women behind my wish. Like, I just recently found out my Wishmaker was a gentleman named Rick Gallo. Sir, if you're listening out there, I owe you so much, because you truly changed the life of not only of me, but of my family that was there in that wish. And I can't thank you enough for everything you and the rest of Make-A-Wish have done. Thank you.
Rick is in the room today. Shout out, Rick.
Thank you so much.
We thank everybody who makes wishes possible, including those that underwrite the cost of sending a family to Hawaii, which is fairly significant. But we could not do it without the donors and the people that just pour their hearts into our organization. So, Robert, let's talk about you post wish, and you touched a little bit on on what your life path is hopefully going to be. Can you tell us how your wish played a part in that, in what you're going to be doing as you move into adulthood?
Yeah. Well, like I said before, the trip was amazing, and it's definitely the best vacation I'll probably ever have in my entire life. It's just something unforgettable and something I'll never forget. But the one thing that I always come back to is more of the process. The amount of caring that Make-A-Wish did to make sure that every little detail was perfect. The how the Make-A-Wish coordinators came to my house and ensured that I was comfortable. They brought gifts, just like Marina said. They brought my entire family pasta. Like, it was amazing. And I always think about that process, because I always think about how happy I was after going through so much hardships. You almost forget how amazing it is to feel that genuine happiness, that saved feeling, that it's just unforgettable. Like, there's finally hope that things are going to get better. So I always remember the process of the wish, because the amount of care that they gave was just so important. And, like I touched on it before, but like I said, I'm still with Make-A-Wish to this day. My wish is over, but I'm still with you guys. You guys are an extension of my family. And you guys have changed my life and have basically helped me decide my career. Aaron, every once in a while, will call me and be like, hey, we need a speaker for whatever charity event you guys are doing? And my answer is always yes. I don't care how I have to move around my schedule. I don't care if I have to cancel anything. If it's for Make-A-Wish, the answer is a guaranteed yes, because it's not something I feel like I'm forced to pay it back. It's just, who wouldn't pay back such a generous and such a amazing thing? Like, I feel like if I don't pay it back, I'm not doing the world justice. For every action, there's a opposite reaction. That wish, I have to make sure that other kids get that same amount of love that you guys gave me. So I went to the Make-A-Wish ball, which I know is one of your guys' biggest charity events. And of course, Make-A-Wish always blowing it out of the park. They even got me my own suit and everything like that to make sure I was good for the event. I spoke to a lot of the people who were making the event possible beforehand at a hotel to share my story, to inspire them and make sure that they had like a living witness as to what their hard work results and cultivates into. I know that Aaron has a event called Whiskey and Wishes. I also went to that, and I also spoke there because I want to make sure that I am doing the absolute most to ensure that more kids get more wishes, because my treatment wasn't very aggressive, which I think everything in power, everything in the world, that my treatment wasn't so aggressive. I didn't need to do radiation. I was very positive to all the chemos, which not everyone can say. So I'm very lucky, but there are some kids who are not that lucky. There are some kids who do not take the treatment so well, who they feel, bad, they lose their appetite, and those are just some of the minor things. So for them to get that amount of hope, we need to make sure that Make-A-Wish has the ability to give those kids the hope they need and the love that they need in such a hard time.
Beautifully said. Marina, I'm going to ask you, if you, I just want to remind everybody who's here with us today, if you have any questions for any of our panelists, please type them in the chat box. We'll get to them before we let them get going. But Marina, I want to ask you, so if you run into somebody on the street and they ask you about Make-A-Wish, not knowing what your affiliation with, maybe they just know, maybe they see something about how you're connected to us, what would you tell them?
If they ask me about Make-A-Wish and what I thought, if that's the question, right, what I thought it was, I would say it's a life-changing organization, not just for the person granted the wish, but everyone involved. It's more than just an organization and a child. It's something that will be carried with them for their life. It's something that'll be carried with their families for their life. The wish granters, everyone involved. It's so much more than 3 words. I think Make-A-Wish, it's something you can't even put into words. It's so incredible. It's more of a movement, I think, to have people care that much. I mean, I couldn't speak any more highly of any organization on this planet. I think what they do is so one of a kind, so incredible, and just one of the purest forms of giving back and having anyone's back, a stranger, anybody. So I think that's what I'd say.
Thank you. So we will be remiss if we didn't talk about what you're doing now, because it's so unique. So tell us about what you're doing with your life now.
Yeah, so 8 years later, I am now an airline pilot for a regional carrier in the U.S. Something I've dreamed of doing since I was very little. My dad is a pilot, so I've always watched him do it, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. So for a while there, I didn't know if that was going to be possible in my future. It's one of the things I did think about when I was sick, and now it's incredible to say 8 years later I'm doing it and living my dream. So that's really cool. I've been able to see other Wish kids on their flights, affiliated with the airline I work for. So that's super cool. I'm always envious. Like, I wish I was the one flying them. It would be so neat to be able to, again, in a way, give back and move them on their wish to wherever they're going to enjoy themselves. But yeah, it's so neat.
So
I love seeing
Angelina,
that. So yeah, I'm fine.
Angelina, you had a cockpit experience on your flight to Hawaii. Can you tell us about that?
I did. I remember sitting on the plane, the first plane, because our journey was split into two flights. We went from Florida to Texas, and then we went from Texas directly to Honolulu. And on the flight from Florida to Texas, the pilot made an announcement over the overhead saying, like, we have a very special guest here. Angelina's going, a Make-A-Wish kid, and she's going to Hawaii. And the whole place, like, they obviously saw the very quintessential shirt, and they just were ecstatic for me. I could feel their support. And when I was just, a regular passenger on an airplane, and I felt the love of everybody around me. And then on the end, I got to sit in the cockpit. And it doesn't matter how old you are. For everywhere from 2 years old to 22 years old and beyond, you get ecstatic when you sit in the cockpit of an airplane. It's just an experience. Although I'm sure Marina feels like she's been in too many cockpits at this point.
Oh,
but
never. It never gets old. I still feel like a 5-year-old when I'm up there.
Well, then my theory is confirmed. Everybody loves seeing where the pilot is in a plane. And that really it kick-started the journey. It made me feel incredibly special, and that really set the tone for the rest of the flight and for the rest of the trip, because it showed that they never forgot anything. They never let one thing slip through the cracks or even say, oh, we could have done this. No, they hit every nail on the head. They did everything they possibly could in their power to make me feel so incredibly special, so important, and it was just one of the best feelings in the world.
Robert, anything you want to add about the cockpit experience? You had one too.
Yeah, mine was a little different. It was more like a little surprise. Once we landed, the flight attendant came up to me and she was like, "Hey, you're the kid with Make-A-Wish, right?" I looked down at my shirt and I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh, come with me. We have a surprise for you." So we all start going down, and they introduced me to the pilot. I got to sit in the cockpit. Yeah, and it was awesome. Like I started asking a bunch of questions. I really, just like Angelina said, I felt like a 4-year-old. I was like, what does this button do? What does that button do? What does this one do? And he would just explain each one to me. And I was like, I just kept asking him questions, and I just learned a lot that day. And just like Angelina said, it does make you feel really special. It does kickstart it. It makes you realize, like this is really happening.
Yeah.
Except for me, though, I think the thing that really kickstarted it, because we landed in Venice. That's where the boat was leaving to. They picked us up it was kind of like a gondola, but it was a speedboat. And we literally drove in between the boats, like the huge cruise ships. We were all driving through it, the wind blowing through our hair. It felt so amazing. Like I've never even been on a speedboat before. So it was incredible. Every just like she said, everything was just so perfect. It's just something I can never forget. It's just always something I remember with such nostalgia and such happiness.
Well, we're running short on time, so I just want to read a couple of the comments, and I also want to acknowledge a mistake we made earlier. Angelina, your wish was granted by a power couple of our organization, Rick and Barb Gallo.
Oh, wonderful!
They're some of our most ardent supporters in Southwest Florida, and Barb is part of that power team. So it didn't want to leave without acknowledging Barb and Rick.
No, of course.
And everybody who's adopted wishes, and everybody who makes this train go. We're in a little bit of a tough time now with COVID, postponing some of the wishes. But once we get through this time, those wishes will start to happen again when it's safe to do so. We're looking forward to that, and we need everybody's help and support to do that. Not just the volunteers or the people who adopt the wishes, but the referral agents, everybody who is surrounding the wish experience. So I just want to read a couple of the comments. Again, if anybody has a question, get it in now before we wrap up. Specifically about Marina's wish. It said, "Wow, this is one of my favorite wishes. You are a strong and amazing woman, Marina." And then another that says, "Thank you, Robert, Marina, and Angelina, for sharing your wish journeys. You're an inspiration." So I want to also thank you guys for being here today. Katie, Marina, Katie weighed in and said, "Marina, I'm so incredibly incredibly proud of the woman you've become. I love seeing your life updates and all the phenomenal goals you've accomplished over the past 8 years. It was an honor to be part of your wish and will forever be my favorite wish. XOXO, Katie, totally crying over here. So, you know, thank you, Katie. So that Katie's comment is a testament to the impact that our volunteers tell us that the wishes have on them. And, you know, a lot of our volunteers tell us they get more out of the wish experience than they give into it. And that makes us really, really proud of what we're doing here. Obviously, today, you three have talked about the impact that wishes have on your lives. It has an impact on volunteers' lives and anybody, and those who sponsor wishes, and anybody who is surrounding the wish experience. But again, we're up against time here, but so I wanted to thank all of you, all of our panelists. Thank you for being here, and thank you for everybody who attended and asked such great questions. Be on the lookout for an invitation for our first webinar in 2021, sorry, which will be taking place sometime in February. In the meantime, we thank you for your support. And we could not do what we do without that support. And we want to remind you that you know, you have an opportunity to help us grant wishes, and we would ask that you consider doing that as we move into 2021, as the COVID restrictions start to release a little bit, and we're able to continue to fulfill our mission of having a life-changing impact on wish kids and their family. We wish you all a happy and healthy holiday season, and all the best for 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was truly an honor.
Thank you so much.